Fantasy Fixers, let's ride with the Denver Broncos. The expectations were mile high after the Broncos acquired Russell Wilson in a trade, only to have Russ put up the worst season of his career. It led to Nathaniel Hackett being fired mid-season, but Denver already trying to turn things around. They go out and hire Sean Payton to be their next head coach, but in the process, they've given up a lot of draft capital over the last couple of seasons. So, Dwayne, how do the Broncos turn things around when they don't have a whole lot of assets to spend?
Yeah, Marcus, this is really an interesting move, giving up the additional draft capital. However, recent research does suggest that coaches with at least 5 years of experience, their previous coaching experience, 70% of that translates over to their new team. Well, we're talking about a coach that had 152 wins in his time with the Saints. So if that comes true, there's going to be enough there for Peyton to offset that pick that would have been a late first rounder that they got through Miami for the trade of Bradley Chubb. And I think the second thing with Sean Payton, even though they don't have the high first round draft picks, this is a guy that's proven over his history to be able to mine for those talents and find them later in the draft. So Marquise Colston was a 7th-round draft pick. Jimmy Graham, 3rd-round draft pick. Alvin Kamara was a 3rd-round draft pick for the Saints. And then we have guys like Pierre Thomas, Lance Moore that went undrafted. So if anyone can overcome the hurdle of the draft pick capital, it is going to be Sean Payton.
That all sounds great, Dwayne, but this is going to be a new type of system for Russell Wilson to play in. How do he and Sean Payton coexist?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Marcus. And I think looking at Sean Payton, he actually has already responded to this. Last October, when the media was going nuts about what is going on with Russell Wilson, someone asked him, what would he do to try to get his game turned around? And I thought the two things he said were very interesting. Number one, he talked about Wilson's ability to create big plays of 30-plus yards or more, and he would want to see cut-ups of all that film. What are the things Russ is most comfortable with, and then get those things into the playbook. Then the second thing was really focusing on the red zone, same kind of concept. What are the plays that Russ does the best on? Where is he the most comfortable? How can he put him in a position to really get the offense into the end zone more often? So I think hearing that, we know that Peyton's going to adapt his offense to Russell Wilson. He's not just going to try to do what he had with Drew Brees before. However, having said that, there are a lot of things that Wilson could benefit from, such as the easy checkdowns to running backs. No coach in the history of the league, at least since 2011, has done a better job of generating passes to the running backs to give him those yards. 9,540, by far the most yards to running backs underneath. So finding the way those two things mesh together could actually make a really dangerous combination and make defenses have to guard the whole area of the field with a combination of Russ and Sean Payton coming together.
So fixing Russ is one thing, but let's look at their current wide receivers. How do the guys they have fit in now, or do they need to go to free agency and consider a guy like Jacoby Myers?
Well, I think with Jerry Jeudy, Marcus, we really do have a player that's coming into his own. He set a career high in yards per route run this season with 2.18. That is really in high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1 territory if we go back and look at fantasy finishes back to 2011. And he does the things that Russ likes. He's going to operate inside. He runs the deep crossing routes. He's a better route runner than Tyler Lockett. He doesn't have quite the deep speed, and they didn't have quite that connection. But with another year, I think that that's something that can come to fruition, and I think that Sean Payton can find a way to integrate him into that intermediate passing game. Now, looking at Courtland Sutton, it is a little bit different. This is a player that hasn't quite broken out. Now, he's had to deal with injuries. He's had an okay season or two, and maybe they could fit him into that Michael Thomas kind of role. He really is a better fit as a possession receiver. Been a bit of a miscast, in my opinion, as someone they wanted to work down the field on the outside more often. So I think there's going to be an opportunity here for Sutton to really turn things around with Sean Payton. But as far as being able to trade him or move him, anything like that, like some of the things that I've read about, I don't think they'll be able to, because he just hasn't really proven to be a high caliber wide receiver. So I think they're going to have to stick it out with him. Now, they could turn to free agency, but a lot of the guys that are there, Marcus, they're really that same kind of profile. Like Juju Smith-Schuster is, he's a possession receiver. Jacoby Myers, possession receiver. So I don't know that I see a name out there besides DJ Chark, someone who can stretch the field, can allow you to hit some of the deep passes in the offense. I don't see another receiver besides him that would really be complementary in nature. So I think they would probably have to turn to the draft.
So you mentioned Jimmy Graham as a guy that flourished under Sean Payton. Is there somebody on the Broncos roster that could sort of mimic that role in Denver?
Well, Marcus, there is a player that I get really excited about, and that is the rookie from this last season, Greg Dulcich, the third-round pick for the Broncos, and he can do some of those things that we've seen Sean Payton want to do with his tight ends in the past. Now, Jimmy Graham, that's really elite praise, so it's tough to push it that far, but there is potential for it because Dulcich likes to work down the seams. Russ likes to hit him in those spots. We saw a couple of plays where they just missed on Dulcich having an even bigger season. So I think when you put the combination of what Sean Payton likes to do in the scheme and what Greg Dulcich does really well, there's a chance that this is the number one receiving option on the Broncos next season.
Those are our suggestions for how to fix the Denver Broncos. You can read more at fantasylife.com, but we want to hear from you. How do you think the Broncos need to turn things around in 2023? Let us know in the comments section below.